back to This, That, and Another, PPL's official podcast about the library and the communities we serve. My name is Jay.
And my name is Sophia.
Later in the podcast, we will be joined by visual artist and educator Bhen Alan.
Ben's exhibition, Spaces That Hold Us, will be on view on the third floor gallery until June 3rd. Also coming up is a celebration for National Library Week, which is April 6th through 12th.
Yes, National Library Week comes at a good time. It's kind of a happy coincidence. The date of the charter that PPL operates under is April 7th, 1875. And of course, it falls under National Library Week. And there's a lot of ways to celebrate National Library Week. One of those ways is to come to PPL's 150th birthday party on Saturday, April 12th. Everyone's invited. We're having a special 150th Maker Day in the workshop where you'll have a choice of lots of PPL memorabilia, from bookmarks to keychains to buttons, t-shirts. You can even get a new 150th commemorative library card, which I will definitely be picking up that day myself. We're going to have a scavenger hunt. We're going to have prizes, hourly drawings, library swag all over the place. And of course, while you're here, come tell us your story. Join the growing ranks of PPL alum. Share why you love libraries, especially PPL. Everyone is a part of the library's story. You know, Sophia, with National Library Week on the horizon, it gives us a chance to talk about important topics surrounding libraries, surrounding library workers, and surrounding patrons of PPL and beyond.
Especially as we're in a climate of grant defunding for public institutions, it's ever more important to hear from some of the librarians to talk about why library is important, hence National Library Week.
So to join us to talk about National Library Week, to talk about why libraries are important and how you can celebrate National Library Week yourself, Senior Information Librarians Tara Scopa and Ann Poulos.
Ann and Tara, it's such a joy to have you here today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Sophia. It's our pleasure to be here.
Yeah. Thank you, Sophia. We're glad to be here.
National Library Week is coming up April 6th through April 12th. What is National Library Week?
So National Library Week is a time to celebrate the many ways that libraries bring people together, spark imagination, and support lifelong learning. The National Library Week was first celebrated in 1958. It's an observance that is sponsored by the American Library Association, and libraries of all types across the country celebrate in April. So for this year, National Library Week, the theme is Drawn to the Library. And the question is, what draws people to the library? Everything, from books and digital resources to job assistance and creative programming, and to try to bring home the idea that libraries are essential to thriving communities. National Library Week is 4 days. The first day is Monday, April 7th, and that's the Right to Read Day. That is a day for readers, advocates, and library lovers to take action to protect and defend and celebrate the right to read. The second day is Tuesday, April 8th, and that's National Library Workers Day, and that's your opportunity to say thank you to your local library workers.
Thank
third
you.
day...
Yeah, thank you now, because I might not see you on that week. So,
Jay and I are definitely big fans of your work.
And then Wednesday, April 9th, is National Library Outreach Day to celebrate or recognize the outreach activities of libraries. And then Thursday, April 10th, is Take Action for Libraries Day, which is today to rally advocates to support libraries. So we kind of hope that during this week, you will come into the library, celebrate the library in some way with us. We are also having a celebration of our 150th anniversary on Saturday, April 12th from 10 to 2, and we'd love to have you come in to celebrate with us at that time.
And why would you say something like National Library Week is important?
National Library Week is important because it not only recognizes the role that libraries play in our communities, but it also lets people know what's going on in libraries and how they should check them out. We have much more than just materials that people can use, though certainly that's a big part. Collections are a big part of what draws people in, but we have innovative programming, including programming for small businesses, for children, for young adults, and for adults. We have tool libraries that are not traditional lending materials that bring people in. We have entertaining videos, CDs, all of those media, plus everything that we offer digitally, including books and also streaming services that we offer that people should come find out a little bit more about and can use. It's available.
So if somebody listening wanted to celebrate National Library Week, what are some ways that they could do so?
Well, you could come into our 150th birthday party celebration on Saturday, April 12th, which is at the end of National Library Week. We're going to have commemorative library cards for the 150th anniversary. There's going to be a history presentation of the library. There's going to be a story collection station. You can come into the makerspace and make buttons and swag. You can do a lot of different things that day, and just to come in to experience the library, check out what we have. We'd love to see you. You can come in earlier in the week also if you'd like to. Just come to your library, see what we have. We have things for you.
Oh, and a library card is free. There's no charge. So you can come in and use our materials, use our computers. Absolutely no charge.
And if somebody gets a library card from PPL, can they use that at other community libraries as well?
Yes, a library card from any public library in the state of Rhode Island is good at any other public library in the state. So you can borrow materials. You could go, if you're on Block Island for the day, you can go into the Block Island Library and borrow something. And you don't even have to return it direct there. You could return it at your local library and we'll get it back to them.
There's a lot going on in the world of libraries right now, a lot going on in the news. And to talk more about that, the Director of External Relations, Beth Ricci. Hi, Beth.
Hi, Jay.
There's a lot of talk right now about federal grant funding. What is something you want more people to know about federal grant funding and libraries?
Thank you for that question, Jay. Yeah, there's a lot of misinformation and misconceptions flying around right now about federal funding. And as a fundraiser of 15 years, that pains me. So I've been eager to take the opportunity to clear some of that up. The main thing I want to impart is just how incredibly competitive these federal opportunities are and how much rigor and oversight there is to this process. To receive a federal grant, you have to submit a really detailed proposal. You have to have evaluation systems in place so that you are clearly showing the impact of what the dollars are doing. You have to submit a really detailed budget and adhere to some really strict regulations around how to spend the funds. Often you have to put in a one-to-one match of resources. So that means for every federal dollar you receive, you have to be putting in $1 of your own money just to even be eligible for a grant. Another thing I'd like everyone to know is that typically, federal grants work on a reimbursement basis. So that means that you do the work first, you spend the money first, and then you have to invoice the government, submit really detailed documentation of everything to receive the reimbursement. So just wanted to clear up some of these misconceptions because I know how hard nonprofits have to work to access these funds. Again, these opportunities are extremely competitive. They're fairly rare. Often when these grant opportunities do come along, 10% of people who apply get funded, and you do have to put in a significant amount of time and resources just to receive the money. So the idea that the federal government is just kind of firing money out left and right irresponsibly with no sense of where it's going is just, it couldn't be farther from the reality.
How have federal grants impacted the work here at PPL?
So typically when we receive federal grants, they're for special projects. And generally federal grant opportunities have the goal of making an individual impact while contributing to a greater public good. So we've definitely seen that with the federal funding and the special projects that we've done here at the library. A couple I'd like to mention and talk a little more about. So most of the federal funding we've received has been from the Institute for Museum and Library Services and the National Endowment for the Humanities. And a couple of projects we've done at the library that I'd like to talk more about. The first one I'd like to talk about is the first National Leadership Grant we received from the Institute for Museum and Library Services in 2016, which is right after I started here. And this was what provided seed funding for our Teen Squads program. So this funding allowed us to hire new staff to start teen education programming here at the library. It helped us develop our curricula. Many people are familiar with our Road Coders 2.0 program and our Data for Good program for teens. Those grew directly out of this funding. It allowed us to build relationships and partnerships with other community groups and schools. We've been able to offer our teens more expanded learning opportunities, more work exposure opportunities, paid stipends for participating in our programs. And almost 10 years later, that programming is still running strong at PPL. So after that 3-year grant ran out, we've been able to sustain it through receiving additional investments of funding from the state, from entities like the Governor's Workforce Board, as well as numerous corporate and private grants. And that program has impacted going on 2,000 teens in the time that we've been offering at the library, and we've expanded it in amazing ways. So that's a really key example of the impact that this funding can make, and it's connecting youth in our community with learning opportunities, leadership and mentorship development, and it's really making an impact, a lifelong impact on them. Another project I'd like to talk about is a grant we received from the National Endowment for the Humanities. This was through their Infrastructure and Capacity Building Grant Program when we were going through our renovation. And this was specifically for our Special Collections Suite, and it allowed us to make really critical upgrades to ensure that our special collections are housed in a fully climate-controlled and secured space. And many people know about our wonderful special collections. We are pretty unique in that they are open and free and accessible to all without a membership model, as many museums or archives have. So they're fully publicly accessible. They're used by so many students and artists and scholars every year who access them for research projects, for artistic endeavors, and some amazing work has come out of our Special Collections Department, like our Creative Fellow program. So another really amazing example of funding that has made an impact in preserving these collections and ensuring that they're open and accessible to everyone in our state, everyone who wants to access them for any purpose. The last project I'd like to talk about is the most recent national leadership grant we received from IMLS for our Data for Good programming. Data for Good is a model where we teach individuals data analytics skills, and then we connect them with nonprofit or community organizations who need technical support using their data in more effective ways. And then participants who have learned these skills use their data to create visualizations and just make it more actionable. With this IMLS funding, we were able to work with national library partners to teach them this model, to either work with their own internal data or to roll out a program where they were teaching the skills to youth or adults in their community. And I just want to share an anecdote because this project just wrapped up. It was a 3-year project. And on one of the final meetings with the partners, one of the partners we worked with from Pottsboro Library in Texas shared just how meaningful it was to be able to offer an experience like that to teens in their community. She specifically said, we're a really small rural town in Texas. In the summer, teens pretty much only have the option of going to work at the local Sonic. There's nothing else like this for them. So this was really incredible, and we're really well received in our town and in our community. And I just thought that was such a powerful story and so emblematic of how important this kind of funding is and how it really is transforming lives in our state and nationally.
If a listener wants to become more involved, how can they make that happen?
So this is definitely a really challenging moment for nonprofits. Many were already dealing with funding challenges as the cost of business now is so high at this moment. Community need is so high. So any level of funding cuts or reductions can really be a crisis for many nonprofits. But the positive side of that, and what I'd like everyone to take away from this, is just the strength that we all have in numbers. The library serves 300,000 users and receives millions of views to our online databases every year. If more of that user base was able to step up and contribute a $5 donation or even a $1 donation, that would really build critical resilience in this really difficult and challenging funding climate that we're in and against these potential cuts that are coming. And I think this can be an incredibly empowering thing for our community and our listeners to remember. So my call to action would be, this is the time to support your library, support your local nonprofits, and advocate to the fullest and to protect federal and state funding that is really critical to so many organizations that are doing so much amazing work in our community, throughout our state, and nationally.
And if somebody wants to give that $5 donation or that $1 donation, how can they make that happen?
People can donate to the library anytime online by visiting prov.pub/supportppl. By the people, for the PPL.
Joining us in the sound studio is artist and educator Bhen Alan, who is currently based in Providence, Rhode Island. His exhibition, Spaces That Hold Us, is currently on view in the third floor gallery and will be on view through June 3rd. Spaces That Hold Us stem from Bhen Alan's Interlace Grant Project, Interwoven Crossroads, Celebrations, Dreams, Sacrifices, and Struggles of Filipinos in Providence. Bhen, thank you for joining us today. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
The exhibition is called Spaces That Hold Us. What can you tell us about the exhibition? What is it for somebody who maybe has not been yet introduced to the project?
It's a really good question. Spaces That Hold Us is really about the stories of Filipinos abroad, but specifically here in Providence, Rhode Island. There's not a lot of Filipinos here, and when I moved here, it was something that I was looking for, a community that can hold you, a community that celebrates you, but also a community that can really uplift you in all the struggles that you or that I am experiencing. Spaces That Hold Us focuses or is centered on the stories of all of those people, of all of Filipinos, not just Filipinos, but all immigrants in the U.S. Within the political chaos that's happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
Spaces That Hold Us is an exhibition that was influenced by a Fulbright project or a Fulbright research that I have done in the Philippines in 2022 and 2023, where I was researching a woven culture, which is the banig in the Filipino culture and Filipino heritage. This is something that prompts me to create this project because the object, the making, the ritual, and the history of this banig or traditional Filipino woven mat holds a body, but also holds the stories of Filipinos in the Philippines. Traditionally, the object is used for sleeping, sitting, celebrating, giving birth, and also ritualistic aspect like prayers and funerary rituals. This is an object that holds histories and stories, and I wanted that same thing, that same object that holds histories and stories of Filipinos outside of the Philippines and exhibit it here at the Providence Public Library. And I'm so glad to be able to do that. And thank you so much, Sophia, for facilitating and for curating this show. I think it's a beautiful show, and I'm so excited to share it to everybody.
So for the listeners, we really would love for you to come in and see the show. And for everyone out there, for context, Bhen and I met a year and a half ago. Bhen has been weaving these mats for an entire year, and these are big, huge pieces.
Yeah.
They're huge. They're beautiful, and they encompass so much care and love and warmth. And it has truly been an honor to go on this journey with you. So thank you for inviting me in and allowing me to sit and be here. It has truly been an honor to be a part of this process with you. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the stories that these mats embody?
Absolutely. Well, before that, let me give you also a little bit of context of how did that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Spaces That Hold Us is not just about the exhibition, the mat, but it also is about gathering. Before I create these mats or before I infuse the story within these mats, I actually gather people. We gather in different spaces. We gather in my apartment, in someone's kitchen. We gather in university parks at RISD. We also gather in any spaces or any places that we can find. Sometimes this is a grocery aisle. Sometimes it's the back of Tricycle Ice Cream Shop here in Providence. And within those gathering, stories happen. Within those gathering, we find care and love and support in really just telling our stories. People or community members, Filipinos, share their stories with me. And then I asked them if I could turn their stories into mat. Then I do send them another questions or set of questions for clarity, or if they want to share more that I didn't ask during that storytelling that had happened. When they share me their stories, I then create patterns or images or imagery and then weave it or paint it or embroider it into the mat. One mat that specifically stood out for me is the mat that is titled Cuesta. And Cuesta is about a family that found struggles, but also love in Providence, Rhode Island. It started during 2020 when Fritzi Cuesta moved here in Providence for work. However, her boyfriend at the time lost his job during the pandemic. He was forced to stay in the Philippines. After a year or two, he was able to come here and got married, which is beautiful and amazing. And then they had a child. The story began with saying who they are, their love for each other, their struggle in Providence, their struggle in finding home, and their struggle to building a family. But then a child came in, a child kind of united them together, and the child became a home for them. And they found care, they found love, and they found a home in Providence, not just with the baby, but within the spaces that they inhabit. And they were able to share that with me. And they were able to share that with the community. And the beautiful thing is that the community that they have built here and the community that was already in Providence are so supportive and so loving and so caring to them. And yeah, I think that's something that stood out for me within this banig or mats that holds these stories. There's a lot of beautiful things, and I do invite people who are listening to this to come into the gallery and read the catalog so that they are able to experience the stories of the Filipino members on their own.
This gallery is at Providence Public Library. Why do you think what you're doing works so well with the space here at PPL, with public libraries in general?
I love that question because yes, I am an artist, but most of my work, I love showing not in a white space gallery, not in a white cube gallery that capitalizes on work. I love working with spaces that is centered to the community. And the community is what we need now. The community centers, the libraries is what we need now because they are able to provide spaces like this. They are able to provide opportunities to artists like me and to the community members to come in for free, to exhibit and showcase these types of work, to also give time and spaces for people to just come in, spend a lot of time within the gallery, spend a lot of time in that space, and give them a lot of chance to showcase works showcase works from artists within the community too. And what I love about this space at the public library is that they are giving me an opportunity to come in, have the liberty to showcase what I want to showcase with the help of Sophia Ellis, to curate it, to facilitate it, and also have the opportunity to create a podcast like this with all of you, and share my stories, not just within this space, but also in the digital realm. And I love that so much because a lot of people, sometimes did not have the opportunity or the chance to go in New York City or in a gallery or maybe in the Philippines. And having this space is such a wonderful thing for me. So thank you so much for giving me that space and for giving me that opportunity to showcase the work.
Definitely, yeah.
And thank you for entrusting us with your beautiful pieces and them also representing these incredible stories.
Yeah, and also the stories, right? In the context of the library, in the context of books. I think the exhibition has a beautiful narrative, not just through books, but also through the storytelling that's happening within the object. And also the beautiful gathering that had happened that is infused within that object. And so people are able to come in and read that as if it's a book. And having the space to gather too. I think it's such a really, really wonderful place for people to come in and celebrate one another.
Please keep an eye out on our website for upcoming programming related to Bhen's exhibition. By the time this podcast comes out, it might be too late to go to the opening on the 29th. And we do hope to see you here at the gallery through June 3rd.
So, Bhen, if somebody was interested in learning more about you and your work, where can they find you on the internet and beyond?
Yeah, my website is bhenalan.com. My name, though, has a letter H on it, so it's a little weird. So it's
perfect.
it's BHENALAN.com. Or my social media, my Instagram, which I'm very active to promote all of my works and all the community happenings and gatherings that's happening here in Rhode Island and beyond. It's Bhen, BHEN_Alan, ALAN. Well, I want to add one more thing because I was actually watching a movie a week ago. And it's the movie is a Filipino movie. It's called Hello, Love Again, which is a sequel to Hello, Love, Goodbye. To anyone Filipino listening to this, I'm so sorry if this is a spoiler. But it's such a beautiful movie that is tied into this work. And I didn't know about this beforehand. The movie is about, familial struggle, career, and finding where home is, whether that be a space or a person or a feeling. The movie is set in Canada. The first one was set in Hong Kong, and then the second one is set in Canada. Anyway, there was a scene in that movie that says, or that went like, home, or tahanan in Tagalog, is a place or somewhere where you can go back to when you're tired, when you're lonely, and when you're empty. It's a place that celebrates who you become, but also embraces when you fail to become. And I think I was thinking about that sentiment for a long time. And I was thinking about, this show, this exhibition here at the Providence Public Library is so caring for me. It's so beautiful to me because of that specific sentiment, because of that home, whatever that may be, that celebrates who you become and that celebrates when you fail or embraces when you fail to become. A lot of Filipinos who work outside of the Philippines, they are called OFW, which is Overseas Filipino Workers, which was my mom when I was 7 until I was 17. She went to Taiwan to work. She left me with the care of my other family members. And when she was in Taiwan, I didn't know what her experience was. I was a kid. I didn't know her struggles, but then she would always send me letters and she would always send me messages. And she's still doing that right now. And her text message is actually woven into the work that I did for her with this exhibition. Anyway, a lot of those Filipino overseas workers have a lot of struggles that they cannot verbalize for their family. They go outside of the Philippines, they work abroad in order for them to provide for themselves and provide for their family. And sometimes those things, the effort that they do does not really become successful. And so they fail to become someone, but then they have a home to go back to. Within the context of this exhibition, we, the community members who shared their stories for that exhibition, have a lot of struggles too. And I think it's so beautiful that we have this community because we are able to hold each other and we create spaces to hold each other, to celebrate who we become, and to embrace when we fail to become. And I just want to thank all the community members here in Providence Public Library and the Filipino community in Providence that is able to share their stories and that is able to provide spaces for everybody. So thank you, Sophia. Thank you, Jay. And thank you to the Providence Public Library and to the community.
Lots of people to thank for this episode of This, That, and Another. Thank you to Tara, Anne, Beth, Bhen, and all of you for listening. You can follow us on social media, Providence Public Library on Facebook, at Providence Public Library on Instagram, And we'll see you soon for the next episode of
This, That, and Another.